I'm Sue Kropbauer, and every Friday you can catch me here on social media sharing a little bit about lessons learned on my journey through midlife, and that's nowadays that's 30 to 50 something and beyond. And it encompasses entrepreneurship, it encompasses a side hustle, a lucrative career in technology, and quite a few years mentoring women in technology and entrepreneurs on how to get unstuck, figure out what they want to be when they grow up, and go out and tackle their big, hairy, audacious goals. So every Friday I come here and kind of share a few lessons learned and along the way, and hopefully you can find some gems on this. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about making your network work. Unfortunately, we're in an era of social isolation, and we can't lay the blame on the pandemic. It started out much earlier than 2020. By and large, people are less connected to others today than they ever have been in the history of our civilization. Social networks have shrunk, and so has community participation in activities like church groups or service clubs. We eat fewer meals together and tend to accept fewer invitations to join these social groups and subsequent outings with, groups of people. Unfortunately, in this highly connected digital world, loneliness is on the rise. While it's impossible to disentangle the two, excessive social media use does seem to worsen negative feelings like being anxious or feeling lonely or alone. People often project that they are the only ones feeling lonely because, everyone has such wonderful lives and successful businesses and amazing growth of wealth and flawless beauty. Photoshopped or filtered, my friends. And social media is actually contributing to that false sense of FOMO, inadequacy, and isolation. For those that tend to fall on the more introverted side of things, social media can also serve as a crutch that prevents people from making real-life friends. If you're up on a Saturday night talking to people in a Facebook group or playing in an online game, isn't it almost the same thing as having a ton of friends, you might ask? Unequivocally, the answer to that is not. So, how exactly do we define your network? What is a leader such as yourself, a leader's social network? Well, it's not just about your golf buddies or your old college roommates or your social media groups. Sure, yes, that can be part of it, but we're talking about that larger group of contacts and acquaintances and friends that a true leader has. And building and maintaining your network is an intentional, which I'll explain a little bit more in a bit. We've all heard the saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. As it turns out, you can measure a social network. The most common metric are its size and its density. That is, who's connected to whom in that spider web of your network. There is a whole body of research on this topic, and an extremely cool company called Visible Network Labs has put a ton of science into that claim, mapping networks visually. But suffice to say that if you wanted to know how well leaders leverage their social network, there are valid and reliable metrics and companies that can do that. But trust me, I am not a data scientist, so we'll stay in my wheelhouse and stick to theory and practice of building a successful network. It's hard to find a career or business out there that doesn't benefit from networking in some way. That sometimes awkward process of meeting new people on a professional level is essential to your success. You never know who you run into, who can change your career, your life, your trajectory for the better, and vice versa, the worse. But there is a certain mentality that seems to permeate a lot of people's perspective when it comes to networking. We think this blank industry, it's all about who you know. Dang, did we just talk about that last week? And the who stands for those in power, those at the top of the proverbial food chain. The context has become, if I make friends with people at the top, I could be at the top with them one day. That's not necessarily wrong, but I do believe there's another way to look at that mantra. The who doesn't have to be someone at the top, and it doesn't even have to be someone who can help you right then and there. You may not even be able to help each other in any way or shape, form right now at all. The who is simply someone who you recognize is passionate for the same things or work that you're in. Someone who has potential coursing through their veins, just like you, I might add. They could be at the bottom of the food chain, but one day they won't be, and neither will you. Your goal is to create a meaningful relationship with peers who all share similar professional goals. If you want to be an entrepreneur, find people online who share your ambition and brainstorm the next great idea. Put yourself out there. Make contact. It's still all who you know. But now your who is a support group, a cheerleading squad. Oh, geez, don't get me started on cheerleading. I had three daughters that went through cheerleading. And maybe one day, a friend who can do you a favor. Perhaps you'll be able to do the same thing for them down the line as well. There's no sense in turning away help if it comes, but goodness gracious, stop hunting only for the big kahunas in the hope they'll pluck you from mediocrity and drop you into their world of success. Stop looking for shortcuts. Instead, invest in those who know the path to the top, and they understand it will be a long and hard, but are walking it anyway. Look for those who have a passion they desperately want to share with individuals on the same wavelength. Look for those who will push you to be better and want you to push them too. Look for people like you. I've talked about why networks are important for leaders, just what they really are and what they can do in a business context. But how do you exactly make this all work? A national author, virtual work consultant, and personal colleague of mine, Trina Hofling, says there are 4 major tactics you can use to effectively manage your social network. 1, align with your personal purpose. First and foremost, if your social network is not supporting you in living out your purpose, it is of marginal use to you. It needs to be pulling you into the future, sometimes kicking and screaming. That's the contact who says, I know you're interested in blank, so I think you need to take a look at this. 2, actively manage your network. This requires effort on your part. This means setting aside time to contact people and doing it on a regular basis. A good rule of thumb is having a deliberate contact on a monthly basis, and based on pandemic and geography permitting, a face-to-face meeting at least several times a year. If you had a personal board of directors, how frequently would you want them talking with you? Number 3, Trina says, seek diversity. Members of your network should bring different subject matter expertise, predisposition, i.e. maybe one is cautious and another one's a risk taker, and demographic perspectives to you. And there should always be one naysayer in the network who can be counted on to pull you back from the edge of potential disaster. And finally, number 4, upgrade. Who doesn't love a good upgrade? Effective leaders' social networks are not static. They're organic. They need to change over time as you mature and they evolve themselves. Members will need to be swapped out and replaced for any number of reasons, The biggest reason is you don't want your network turning into groupthink. That's what causes board of directors and you to become ineffective over time. Kind of preaching to the choir accomplishes nothing. Keep it flowing and keep it fresh. Ultimately, a face-to-face connection is still more powerful in today's digital world. All you need to do is just get out there. From classes to clubs to sports and special events that are designed specifically for people to come together and network, the opportunity out there is endless. A simple search, even for a straightforward networking event, is all it takes. Anyone can build who they know network as long as they can communicate with other people in one way or another. Great leaders, just like you, do all of the things we've touched on today quite consciously and intentionally. All you have to do is be brave enough to introduce yourself to new people and be disciplined enough to put the effort in building and maintaining these right relationships. Some of these relationships, well, they might already exist in your network, just gone stale. So don't forget to also consider who you already know. This past December, I tackled a critical subcategory in your network building, and that is building out your personal board of directors. And by the way, every leader should have one. And if you're not feeling confident about stepping out and building out your network, you can learn more on how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable by using my Compass framework. It's located inside Module 5 of my Kickstart Your Comeback program, and you can find out more about it by clicking in the link below. Or give me a comment or a DM about questions you might have, or recommending a framework for starting up and successfully completing a network building meeting. There's lots of ideas. Let's share them together. Let's use this post as an opportunity to network. How about that? I'm wishing you a fabulous week, and I'll see you next Friday.